Hey there, welcome to the channel. My name's Greg. Today I'm going to show you how I made Chipolata, these little cocktail sausages. I found this Chipolata recipe in this book here, Professional Charcuterie by John Kinsella and David T. Harvey. I was given this book for my birthday last year. Haven't made a lot out of it, but I'm giving this one a try. Let's have a look. Chipolata sausage. The ultimate cocktail sausages, chipolatas may be lightly grilled or cooked in the oven. The English banger evolved from this variety. They may be served as garnish with main course roasts. It's going to be an all pork sausage. Looks like it's going to use dry breadcrumbs as a binder of sorts. All right, let's give it a shot. Step 1, combine the meat and fat back. I usually call it back fat. Either way, same thing. Grind that through a 3/8 inch plate. Chill. Okay, I can do that. Well, this sausage calls for pork butt and some pork fat back, or as I usually call it, pork back fat. I'm going to start by cutting my pork butt into pieces that fit in my grinder. If I do the math, it calls for like 12% fat, 88% pork butt. I mean, I'm going 85% pork butt, 15% of the back fat. Man, look at that. That is just beautiful looking color to find in your pork. It's just like rosy red almost. Look at that. This is off the Berkshire Hampshire cross I got this past winter. And so far it's been pretty tasty. And then I'm going to cut up this 15% back fat. So I still think that spotted Gloucestershire cross is a little tastier. The old spotted Gloucestershire I think is the tastiest pig I've got yet. Anyway, I'm going to put this in the freezer so it can firm up a little bit. My pork is still really cold, below freezing. You know, it's still semi-frozen. It's going to grind really well. I'm using my 10mm plate today. That's the coarsest one I have, other than my kidney bean plate. That's what I call it, because it kind of looks like a big kidney bean. Anyway, ready to grind this. And you can see I'm not using this plunger. Just gonna feed it as it takes it. I like to take a little bit, just make a ball, run that through, pushes out that last little bit, and we're good to go. So when you grind it really cold, you get a very defined grind, no smearing. So it says to chill this. It's pretty darn cold already, but I'll chill it while I get my spices together. Step 2, put the water into a container and stir in the breadcrumbs and all of the seasoning ingredients. So it's calling for fine breadcrumbs, it's calling for fine salt, fine black pepper, sage, onion flakes, ground thyme, ground mace. I'll use nutmeg because I don't have mace. Okay, so I got to put all those together. I'm noticing that this is calling for about 0.4% salt, which is not enough salt for any sausage that I've ever made. I usually use more like 1.5 to 1.8% salt in most of my sausages. I think I'm going to meet in the middle and I'm going to use 1% salt because I'm not making a sausage with 0.4% salt. That's just not enough. You know, it's what the book says. I'm making a small batch. If it comes out too salty, it will only be a small batch. But I suspect it's going to be just fine. Now I'll be getting together my spices, starting with salt. And again, this recipe calls for 0.4%, which is, I'm going to go meet in the middle. I'm going 1% salt. Seems low for a sausage, but it's more than twice what the recipe calls for. It called for a fine salt, so I'm using sea salt. It's much more fine than the kosher salt I usually use for whatever it's worth. Just a little bit of black pepper, a little bit of rubbed sage, a real small amount of dried onion, small amount of, calls for mace. I don't have it, so I'm using nutmeg. It's a pretty reasonable substitute. And last thing, a small amount of thyme. Pretty minimally spiced for a sausage. Mix that together with my breadcrumbs. And I guess I add this to the water. Strange as that seems, that's what it says to do. Okay, it says to take my ice cold water. So I'm guessing this is step 2 so that those breadcrumbs can like hydrate a little bit while I'm doing the next step. Step 3, puree the chilled ground meat in batches in a food processor. Keep bowls, mixing tubs, and ingredients well chilled while processing. That's interesting. Sausages I've seen that use a food processor are usually adding the ice water at the same time. I wonder, it probably won't make quite as much of a paste as your typical emulsified sausage. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be emulsified or not, because I'm not mixing the water in at the same time. I guess we'll see. Seems strange to be doing this meat without adding any liquid to it. That's what it tells me to do. See what just happened there? It kind of turned into one ball. So we must be getting a pretty good amount of extraction. I think that's all we're going to really get with this without adding water. Still really cold, but I think as long as it's just spinning it in a big ball, we're not really getting much farther. All right, let me go put this in a bowl that I have in the freezer. Do the other half here. Now this looks to be a smaller half than that first bit. See what's starting to happen here? It's like becoming one ball. Motor speed picked up because it's not having as much resistance. And as this is spinning around, it's like grabbing all the little pieces. Too much time like that, it's not doing much more. It's all one ball. Step 4, combine the processed meat with the crumb seasoning mixture. Mix very well in a power mixer. Okay. This breadcrumb water mixture started to firm up right away, but it's telling me to mix this to combine the two. I am a little curious. When I have used a stand mixer for sausage, I stay at very low gear so it doesn't get excess heat. I don't know, let's turn it up a little bit. Yeah, I also don't usually chop meat up in my food processor to make sausage. All right, let's go down to 1. It's getting hard on it. Yeah, I'm not sure how far to take it because, all right, kind of came apart. Now it's coming back together into a ball. I think once it gets into one ball, I'm going to call it good. There's still a few pieces, just as I say it. These little pieces stuck on the edge, and it's like picking it up as it comes around. It's kind of becoming more of one ball. You know, if you overmix it, it can become real tough. You don't mix it enough, it's crumbly. That's definitely not going to be a problem with this here. Put one of these gloves back on and let's see. Definitely doing the stick test. You can definitely see the strands coming out of it. Step 5. Chill for at least 1 hour. Step 6. Stuff the prepared casings. Make small links, 1 to 1.5 inches. Boy, that's tiny. These are using sheep casings, 22 to 26 millimeter. But geez, 1 to 1.5 inches. I guess that's a cocktail sausage, tiny little sausage. All right, sounds like a lot of linking. The Chipolata sausage. Oh, whoops. Has been chilling for a couple hours now. Not a very big batch of this, but it's kind of an experimental one. Nervous about that salt level. Says to use sheep casings. Hey, cat, you're bumping my camera. Stop it. 22 to 26. I'm using 22 to 24, so these will be just perfect for a little cocktail wiener. So as always, get some water, lube up the horn, because everything slides better when it's lubed up. Just a little bit of water is fine. Find it in and search for the opening. It's tricky to get a finger in here, harder to get to, but if you can figure it out, you can get a little bit of water to stay in your casing, and that will help it to slide onto the horn. Okay, and then you just want to make sure it slides nice and easy. Perfect. Push my meat to the end of the horn, pull a little bit off, make a knot, punch a hole to let out any air, and then just start stuffing. You want to be able to pinch all the way down and have it stay. If you're having a hard time pinching that much, you're stuffing too tight. Uh-oh, I feel like some of these might be too tight. If you're too tight, you can burst the sausage, and that's always a bummer. Oh, look at that. It's like pretty much the perfect amount of casing. That almost never happens. So this one says 1.5 inches. 1 inch to, oh man, these are tight. I'm gonna probably get a snap somewhere. All right, so away from me, pinch. Next one I'll pinch towards me. And I'm just twisting it like 3 times. If they're loose, you can give them an extra twist to tighten them up. I'm having the opposite situation where I need to try to push it downhill to where there's room for it. But I think I'm probably gonna burst one soon here. All right, I think I made it through the part that was a little too tight. That one's too big. That's almost 2 inches. It said 1 inch to 1.5 inches. It's hard to even make them that small. I got a burst. It's bound to happen sooner or later. It's this many links, you're really tightening it up a lot throughout the length of the rope. There's the burst one. Man, that was a lot of work for a little bit of sausage. All right. I mean, that's like really like 1 inch. Most of these are way bigger than they say. These are supposed to be really tiny. You probably got to leave these really loose to be able to make that many links in a rope. Definitely stuffed them a little too tight. Step 7. Wrap or tightly cover the links. Refrigerate for use. You know, they're telling me to wrap this right after I link it, which in my mind is not going to make a very good texture on that casing. I usually like to dry them out in the fridge overnight, or at least in front of a fan for an hour. I think I'm going to dry my casings out before I wrap them up and put them away. And I'm making such a small amount, I might not wrap them up and put them away at all. So it says to refrigerate until I use it. Wrap it tightly and refrigerate till I use it. So it's not telling me to dry out the casing, but my own better judgment is telling me to try out this casing. So what I'm going to do is get a rack. I'm going to put a fan on these, leave them out to dry for about a half hour, just because I really want to try them today. Otherwise, I'd probably leave them in the fridge overnight like this to dry out their casings, even though the recipe doesn't call for it. And I'm still trying to decide if I want to just pre-cook these and give them an ice water bath, or cook them as fresh little sausages. So I'll decide that over the next half hour or so, and I'll be back in a few. These have been in front of the fan for about 45 minutes. Their casings definitely dried off a little bit, but I've made up my mind. I'm going to pre-cook these in the oven, give them the water bath. I think that's going to be the best way to treat these. Pre-cooked sausages freeze better, and they're just more convenient to have around. So I'm going to cook these in the oven. See you for the water bath. All right, cocktail wieners reached 150 degrees. Took them about an hour and 45 minutes to get there. Now I'm just going to put them all into this ice bath. Stop their cooking right away. Should help tighten up their casings a little bit. They don't need very long in there, just till they get down to about 100 degrees or so. After about 5 minutes in that water bath, took them out. Gonna let them sit on this rack for about a half hour. I'm gonna put a fan out in front of them. That's just gonna dry them off a little. Then we'll grill some up and give them a try. Got these in front of the fan for about, I think it's been about a half hour. They're dry. Gotta say, looks like a lot less of them once they're all cut up and put in the pile like this. I'm gonna cook a few up and we'll give them a taste. Pretty excited to give these a try here. Grilled them up a little, got a little color on them. Let's give it a taste. Got a little pop. They're very, very juicy. Super juicy. I'm glad I put in as much salt as I did. If I made them again, I'd just go the 1.5% salt that I always use. I don't know what's up with that in that book. It's not lacking salt, but I would go the whole 1.5%. It's got a mild flavor, but it's really nice, and it's kind of light. I think those breadcrumbs kind of lighten it up a little bit. These are cocktail sausages. They're meant to be just eaten by hand, but I want to cut one up so we can get a look at the cross section here. Liking the texture, the casing's bound pretty good. Getting some grease all over my fingers, definitely juicy. You know, I kind of like that, the texture. It's kind of airy. It's a little lighter, it's a little airy. You can see where they say the English banger evolved from this. They have that rusk. I haven't made any sausages with rusk yet, although it's coming up soon. Maybe even sooner than I was planning, because I think it's going to be similar to this breadcrumb mixture. And I'm kind of a fan of that texture. It's good. Like I said, the flavors are mild, but they're real pleasant. Pretty good sausage. My only thoughts, I would add a little more salt, and I wouldn't pack my casings quite as tight, because when you're making that many loops, that many links on a rope, every time you twist a link, it makes it a little tighter. So you need to leave enough slack, enough looseness to accommodate for tightening it up as much as all those little links do. And I mean, this year, that's probably closer to 2 inches. They said 1 inch to 1.5 inches. So it's a pretty small sausage. Anyway, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. That helps the algorithm point more people my way. If you're not subscribed to my channel and you're still watching this video, you should probably subscribe. I got a lot of other content similar to this. Whatever you do, put some love into the food you make. Peace.